everyone, welcome to the first video in this 3-part mini-series on how to make this DIY Thank You Glenn plushie. Now this was actually inspired by that infamous season 6 episode 3 scene where we were all left wondering for weeks what happened to Glenn. And also those cute little pup fungo figurines, I mashed those two up together and I came up with this. So if you want to learn how I made this, just keep on watching. Alright guys, first we're going to start off by gathering our tools and materials. So you're going to grab a pair of scissors, a red marker, I've got a Sharpie here, some glue that works well with fabric, some hand sewing pins, as well as a hand sewing needle. Then also your templates, which I will screenshot for you guys so you guys can have that as reference. And everything you need will also be listed in the description box below, so you can check that out for more information as well. You're going to need 1 sheet of light gray felt, 1 sheet of tan felt, a sheet of black felt, and 2 sheets of peach felt. And then for fabric, you're going to need some black fabric. I'm using canvas fabric, some tan off grayish fabric, whatever you have, some dark knit gray stretch fabric, and some red fabric. Also grab some thread that matches all the felt and fabric that you are going to be using for this project. And we're going to also need some purple and brown eyeshadow, whichever brown, it doesn't really matter. And last but not least, some polyfill stuffing so we can stuff our plushie with. And that's about it for tools and materials. Let's get right into the tutorial. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is grab your 3 template pieces. You're going to have one that's labeled for the face, another for the upper body, and the other for the lower body and accessories. I just want to point out a couple things before we go ahead and start cutting out. Each of these pieces are going to be labeled with 3 different items. The first is going to tell you what part of the plushie that corresponds to. The second one is a number, and it's going to tell you pretty much how many pieces of fabric you're going to have to cut out for that particular piece. And then the last one is going to tell you the color and whether it's the felt or the fabric that you're going to have to use for that part of the plushie. Now, pretty straightforward. You're just going to cut out on all the solid lines. But there is something that I do want to note for the 2 shirts. So the undershirt and the overshirt. So the undershirt and overshirt, you're going to notice that it's only half of the shirt. And the reason why is because you're going to cut it on fold. It's going to be labeled on the side here like this, and I will show you how to do that when we get to cutting out the different pieces. But for now, you just want to cut around all of these lines on the edges. And the undershirt as well, you're going to see this curved line right here. Just ignore that. That's also for when we cut out the fabric. So pretty much for both of the shirts, just cut along on the outside, just like all the other pieces. Alright, so here I have all my template pieces cut out, and I just matched it up to the corresponding felt or fabric that we're going to be using before we go ahead and start cutting out our actual plushie pieces. Now on to cutting out our different pieces. So it's pretty much cut and dry. You're gonna have to, no pun intended, just pin on your templates to your felt or fabric that it corresponds to, and then cut your pieces out with your scissors. You're obviously going to need your pins, your scissors, and your template and your corresponding fabric. I'm just going to show you how to do the t-shirt like I said earlier, because it's probably the only one that needs a little bit of clarification on how to do it, and I'm going to show you using the undershirt template because it's pretty much the same thing for the overshirt, except you won't have to worry about the whole neckline. So when it says cut on fold, what you're going to do is take your fabric, in this case it's going to be the dark gray knit fabric, and you're going to take your piece and you're going to fold it over just a little bit, just so you have this fold, just like that. Then where it says on your template, cut on fold, you're just going to place that side on the fold. And take your pin and pin it in place, just like that. Whoops. And just cut it out. So you can either freehand the neckline or just cut out along the line. And that's pretty much how you do that. Then you're gonna have your two pieces ready to go. And for everything else, you're just gonna repeat the same process. Just pin away and cut it out, and then we'll recap everything that you should have up until this point. Alright guys, so here are all of my plushie pieces cut out and ready to go. Just take a look at what you have and make sure everything's matching up on what you see on the screen here. And if you are and you're good to go, then let's just dive right into it. First thing, we're going to make the face. So grab your eyeballs, your eyebrows, your scar, some glue, your pins, and your hand sewing needle threaded with some red thread, and let's get started. So just go ahead and position the face pieces as you like, and then go ahead and pin it in place so that you know exactly where you need to glue stuff down. Well, for the scar, just go ahead and give it a little tug and a roll to make it a little bit thinner, and then pin it into place. Then go ahead and glue everything down. You're just going to keep gluing and gluing, and then we will return for further instruction. So here I'm going to be attaching the scar to the face using a fell stitch. If you don't want to stitch it, go ahead and just grab some more glue and just glue it in place. I just like the way it looked when it was stitched on. So I'm just going to do that and we'll get back to it. Start assembling the face. So grab your other headpiece and also your torso pieces, and we're just going to flip that headpiece upside down facing the other piece and pin it into place so that we can start attaching everything together. But before we do that, we're just going to mark off using the neck there, the width of the neck, because we're going to actually stitch all the way around but leaving that little gap so we can turn it inside out. So like I said, we're going to stitch it into place, but we're going to use a blanket stitch this time, and you can kind of see what I'm doing there. You just want to insert the needle from the back, and then right where you inserted that needle, you're just going to go pass through that same spot, and once you get that in, you're going to leave a little loop and bring the needle through that loop, creating a little stitch, and then you're just going to move a little lengthways away right there, and then bring that needle back through the fabric, both pieces again, and then leaving that little loop and loop it into place. And you're just going to do that all the way around the entire head, again making sure to leave that little gap that we marked off using the neck on our torso piece. Once you're done stitching the head, you should have something that looks like this with this little opening. Now we're just going to flip it inside out, and then after we're done flipping it inside out, we're just going to go ahead and stuff it. head fully stuffed. That's what she said again. You're just going to close off that gap using a ladder stitch. So just go ahead and insert the needle from the inside so the knot is hidden away. Then on the opposite side, right across from where you stitched, go ahead and make a vertical stitch going across, and then just keep doing that back and forth, and you'll see that your stitch will start to make like rungs on a ladder. And then once you pull it tight, then it'll actually start to close that gap. So you're just going to do that all the way along the opening there, and then tie it off with a knot, and we'll be all set to go to the next part. So now we're going to attach his hair. So grab your two hair pieces, the front and the back, like your needle and thread with some black thread. Now this is actually kind of optional. You don't have to thread the two pieces together before you attach it. You can just go ahead and glue it straight on there, but I just find that it came out a little bit neater if you stitch it together first and then glue it on, because it will cover up that little gap at the top a little bit better than if you just glued it on, because it might just like look a little stiff and the edge doesn't look as natural. So once you have that, you're just going to take your two pieces and pin them together, and just like what you did with the head, you're just going to blanket stitch all the way across, just the top part of the hair, just where they kind of connect at the top, like as if it was the scalp. And so just blanket stitch that all the way across, and then I will show you how to glue it on. Alright, so once you finish stitching, you should have a hair piece that looks like this. Now we're just going to pin it in place so we know exactly where to put our glue. So just pin away, pin away, pin away, and once you're done pinning, go ahead and then grab your glue. Take out the pins one section at a time so that you can have more control over the glue and it doesn't dry on you before you even get to put it down or something like that. And then just take your pins and pin it back in place so that you have something to secure it while the glue dries. So just go ahead and finish up the front and repeat the same process for the back, and also the sides there, just close them up with some glue, and then we'll be right back. Once you're done gluing, you should have something that looks like this. I left the two pins on in the side because the glue was still a little bit wet. And here I am just adjusting the corners of the plushie head to make it a little bit rounder and a little bit cuter. And that's pretty much it. We're done with the first part of our DIY Thank You Glenn plushie. So that's a wrap for part 1 of 3 of this DIY Thank You Glenn plushie mini series. If you found this video helpful, or if you just are in the giving spirit because of the holiday season, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe so you can see parts 2 and 3 of the video. And if you decide to make this plushie, go ahead and check out my Instagram and post a picture of your own creation with the hashtag Nocturnal Island. Until next time, guys, I will see you soon. Thank you, good night, and good luck.